Howdy, folks. Your host, Double J, back here, coming at you live, directly from my studio slash wagon, real deep into Appalachia. And joining me tonight for a shenanigan infused journey into the mind of this particular garbage can dude is my dude Dan Dean, Guinness Book of World Record holder, stand-up comedian, and U.S. Marine and Army veteran. How you doing, Dan?
Man, I didn't realize that doing this live thing was going to fuck up your intro so bad.
Yeah, well, we all got to start somewhere. How's life treating you, bud?
Man, I can't complain. I mean, life's great. It's always good.
You recently competed in the Guinness Book of World Records competition for the longest. What was it? The longest stand up set or longest stand up show?
Longest continuous stand-up comedy show.
Nice.
We ended up going 85 hours, I think. The previous record was about 81, and
Okay.
that's as of right now, that's unofficial, but it's official. We fucking won.
I was going to ask you when does that exactly become official?
Who the fuck knows? We've been trying to. I say we. I haven't done a goddamn thing since then, but my guy Kevin has been trying to get that taken care of for. It happened in February.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been a while, right?
Yeah, and they did send an email or some sort of message to him that said it may happen within 2 weeks, or it may be months before you get anything back. And I don't know. I guess if they're gonna check everything and make sure it's good, it's going to take, somebody's not just going to sit down and watch
85 hours.
these 5 hours. Yeah, it's going to be a minute. There were certain variables that, requirements you had to check at all times. So as somebody's watching this, they're checking that there's the proper number of people in the room and that there was never anybody off stage at any certain time. So they've got to mind their P's and Q's while it's not like just sitting down and watching a Netflix comedy special. They have to
Right.
probably keep rewinding and
Make
checking.
sure there's no clever editing going on.
Right.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing you wear that. What do you get? A medal? Do you get like a gold medal or a trophy with that? What do you get for
I
winning the?
will probably send a certificate to
Nice.
Kevin and he'll post it online and say congratulations.
And that was part of what comedy club up there in your region in Dayton?
Bricky's Comedy Club in Miamisburg, Ohio.
Nice. Oh, so it's just what, south of Dayton?
Yeah, I don't know directions. What do you have a fucking compass here? What's going on? I'm doing land nav. I don't. What are you talking about south of Dayton?
That's the home of the Miamisburg Mound, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll take your word for that.
One of the largest remaining Adena mounds in America.
I mean, I consider it home of Cheeks Gentlemen's Club, but you
That
do
too.
whatever.
That's still open?
Oh yeah,
doing better business than ever, huh?
I haven't been in several years, but I assume it's thriving.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Wright Patterson's there, I'm sure it is. Because that's when I was stationed at Wright Patterson. I feel like that's all my troops would go do on their off days.
Well, Wright Pat's right there, kind of near the Dixie Strip, so there are a fair few gentlemen's clubs in that area. But
oh yeah, well the Dixie Strip, yeah, that's a shady area right there.
Cheeks is one of the more popular ones because there's a couple other bars and nightclub type establishments right around there.
Nice. That's a wonderful city of Dayton, Ohio. In fact, I was just reading a story the other day about Dayton. There's apparently some sort of vampire cult that's been operating out of Dayton for years. Some sort of murderous, homicidal vampire cult.
Well, I'm not familiar with that particular cult, but maybe I'll look into it now that I know of its existence.
Yeah, well, there's like a Netflix documentary coming out. I think there's a shout out to Cheeks Gentlemen's Club for you, Dan.
Oh yeah, stretch marks and cottage cheese. That's what I'm talking about. Listen, when I was a young man in my early 20s and went to Cheeks, it was not a fine. There's not the fine establishment it was the last time I was there, and they sank some money into it. And
You tell
again,
me they classed it up there? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
yeah, but like all gentlemen's clubs, the talent kind of ebbs and flows. You know, the girls, the nice girls, will all go from one club to another.
Oh, I see. They run in cliques, do they?
Yeah, they've got a little flock. They go back and forth from place to place when they get sick of management at certain spots.
And right now that scene's at Cheeks, is what you're telling me.
Well, no, I don't know. It was the last time I was there. And
But you ain't been on the streets in a while, so you're not quite sure, huh?
boy, I bet it's been 2016 since the last time I was
Oh,
there.
they're gonna say 20 years. I'm like, yeah, that's probably about
Yeah,
right for me.
well,
Like
I
I went
don't
there
know.
for a bachelor party one time, maybe, or something like that, maybe around 2004.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I took my midget last time. First time she'd ever been to a strip club.
Oh, Wendy the Midget.
Yeah.
Nice. What's she doing since you all no longer have a comedy duo? Is she in the midget wrestling still, or?
She does some of that.
Yeah.
She, I mean, she does comedy still as well. And
But you all had a combo like comedy duo there for a number of years.
yeah, we were pretty well attached at the hip, fairly literally. I mean, I'd pop my mom hip out because when you're carrying her, it isn't light, so I had to pop the hip out, sit her on it.
So it's more of a ventriloquist act, is what you're describing.
Basically, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact, I tried to talk her into that at one time.
That'd have been hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, I talked her into dressing up as Smurfette one year for Halloween, and she's never forgiven me for that. So she wouldn't go with the ventriloquism.
Did you go as Gargamel with the beard?
Well, I didn't have the beard at the time, and also neither did Gargamel. What are you talking about?
Didn't he have a Didn't he have a big beard? Wasn't he like a wizard dude?
Well, he was a wizard, but he was bald as fuck.
He didn't have a beard.
No, he had.
Maybe I'm mashing near Gandalf from like Lord of the Rings or whatever with the wizard dude from Smurf. Who knows?
Yeah, don't mix up wizards. They get pissed off.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of that vampire cult thing. I just read about it the other day for the first time, and I wanted to check it out because I inadvertently or accidentally encountered a vampire cult, a murderous vampire cult in Murray, Kentucky, back in circa 1999. They murdered a couple. They apparently Kentucky murdered a couple in Florida, and then drove to New Orleans when they got busted in there in New Orleans. But the couple that, interestingly enough, the couple they murdered in Florida, was the parents of one of the new recruits in the cult. Her parents or her father was her father's father. So the murder victim's father was the son of Billy Graham's attorney, the evangelical preacher dude. Billy Graham's attorney's son was the murder victim. I was like, oh, that's strange. Why is it's a weird connection of like religious activities, right? Murderous vampire cult and and then Billy Graham's attorney. Yeah, just got a comment here from my dude Doctor Doom Mento Mori. He goes by many names there, the good doctor. But yeah, there was two vampire cults in the '90s. That was the one I encountered was Murray, Kentucky. I later learned there was another one over there on the east side of the state, right around the same time. Seemed to be a lot of murderous vampire cults in Kentucky in the '90s.
Well, I mean, what else are you going to do in Kentucky?
Yeah, well, what else are you gonna do in Dayton besides join a vampire cult?
Well, I googled this when you mentioned it, since I'd never heard it before, and it says that as of 4 hours ago, Netflix will not air this documentary.
Uh-oh, the vampires have rioted, have they?
Yeah, they're shelving it. It was called Vampires in Gym City.
Okay, is that the nickname for Dayton? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Gym City.
Gym City? What kind of gym we talking here? It's a real gym of a place. I'll tell you that much.
I think that's probably where it came from. I don't know what's going on with that. But this is the Coven in Dayton was the second largest in the United States.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of shocked to read some of those details. I got to look in more to why now Netflix has decided not to air that with all the other garbage that they put on the airs.
Yeah, it is kind of tough to find anything decent to watch on Netflix these days.
No, for sure. Well, I mean, they just produce hot garbage for the most part. I mean, as far as anything worthwhile watching, I'm very critical of the things they leave out of a lot of their documentaries and the narratives they're trying to spin.
Well, but you're pretty critical of that for any documentary.
Oh yeah, I'm. There's no question about that. I would like people if they're going to make a documentary to be objective. I mean, call me crazy, but the I suspect that it has some sort of objectivity to call it a documentary. Otherwise, it's more or less a work of fiction, right? I mean, if you're spinning things with narratives, it's propaganda at that rate.
I would say propaganda more than fiction.
Yeah, I guess that's an accurate description. This is probably an accurate description of why Netflix is not showing the vampire documentary. They got threatened to either get sued or their blood sucked out of them by the vampires, one of the two.
I'm down with the blood sucking thing.
I'm sure Netflix is too, quite honestly. The well, let's see. I wanted outside of vampires, I was looking to get your opinion on what I like to call a series of psyops of varying varieties, from political to otherwise social, kind of psyops. But you know, on that note, I've entitled this show "We Demand Better Psyops" because these psyops
I lost you
world
there.
2024. Oh,
Uh,
am I back?
yep, there you are.
Yep. What I like to call meme world 2024 is where like kind of the memes have taken over reality. What was once meme just a few years ago is now becoming reality, and the area in between those two is dwindling fast, and those things are intersecting more frequently.
Yeah, it's a
And
wild, wild place.
yeah, and well, we're just getting bombarded with a lot of ridiculous stuff. Like, one of the things we talked about, obviously, and we're going to discuss here today, is the Trump assassination, some of the details and circumstances surrounding that. And you yourself, much like myself, is a retired MP type from the military, so I presume you have some thoughts on that, those subjects. And also, what's that, Dan? Go ahead.
I was going to say, as far as that goes, and I told you this, and I've said this to you many times. I'm not what you would consider a traditional conspiracy theorist. I don't buy into a lot of that shit, but I'm open to hear
Sure.
everything. I love listening to the theories and trying to open my mind to them. But when you had told me, and maybe I'm jumping the gun on this a little bit, but you had told me that the idea is floating out there in the universe that perhaps the CIA had been. Uh, what did you tell me? They were using. Fucking goddamn
I
it!
don't know. It's hard to tell. You're asking me what I told you. It's hard to tell. I come up with so much stuff.
I know. I don't know.
As far as like a dual, I almost think there's like a dual shooter situation going on. Like one intelligence faction of intelligence agencies had like their guy, and then the opposing intelligence operation factions had their guy, and it's been kind of jumbled up in that battle between the two and the details surrounding them. And I think there's evidence to support these conclusions as well. On and above the fact that basically there was an entire stand down of security operations that day for Trump. For the detail of Trump.
Sure. But what's the goddamn thing for the Kennedy assassination with the mushrooms and psychedelics?
Oh, MK Ultra.
MK Ultra. Jesus fucking
There
Christ!
we go.
Told me that.
Yeah, no, I did send you something about that, didn't I? Yeah, okay.
It's the first time I've ever heard a conspiracy theory where I didn't immediately say, "What the fuck are you talking about?" That's the first time that I said, "Well, you know what? That makes sense, and that explains a whole lot of shit." So, I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe I'm
Well,
being.
no, you bring up a good point because I want to say, didn't the CIA actually make a public statement like we had nothing to do with the Trump shooter or something to that effect?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody's made
Oh,
any statements
there's been
about.
a lot of statements being thrown out there. I think they actually said that.
I don't think there's been any legitimate statements out there. I
No,
mean,
well, no, and
has
most
any
of them
other
are all conflicting, right?
Yeah, Like, I mean, for example, there's an idea that whoever this shooter was didn't have a scope on their rifle, which, all right, fine. From 100 yards, there's no reason you can't use iron sights, but no one can confirm whether or not there was a fucking scope. How do we, months later, not know whether the rifle had a scope on it?
That's a great point. And then for a while he drove there, to the Butler Fairgrounds there in Pennsylvania. That he drove there in a van, and then he walked there from the Home Depot after he bought a ladder. And then the next story was he then there. And so there's been so much back and forth there. For example, going into congressional hearings on the topic, it was he drove this van, and there was this van full of bombs and other explosives. Was the narrative that was being discussed. And then the FBI director was like, no, we discredited all that. He never brought a ladder to the scene. He never drove a van. He rode a bicycle. So there's this whole shifting of narratives that's going on back and forth. Yeah, and there's not a doubt in my mind, and I'm sure yours as well, that they don't like. There's people in government that know what went on, right? Like, are you on agreement with me on that one?
100.
Yeah.
Nobody fucking knows, and they're just not.
They're like, someone like they're taking like the square block and the round hole. They're like, it just doesn't fit. Like, we just can't make it fit. We don't know what happened. It just doesn't fit. Like, they're pretending like they have no idea how to do their jobs. I mean, there's just some core breakdowns of things that went on there. One of the things I first noticed, from my experience working presidential security details as an Air Force MP, from working the crowd control, traffic control, working the counter sniper teams, working the command center, right? I did that on numerous occasions, the command center. One thing I noticed quickly on, there was no command center in this circumstance. Usually you have a radio, like if the Secret Service and the local police dispatcher can't get in the same room, can't get in the same control center, then they give the other party a radio of each other's, right? So that way they can communicate as if they're any other patrol from within their dispatch community or sector. So in this circumstance, they're like, nah, we don't need to communicate with each other.
Well, that's kind of the thing, isn't it? I mean, nobody seems to know what's going on anywhere, and this isn't like they were shooting from the hip on this. This
right.
is president slash former president of the United States making a public appearance. There are going to be SOPs on that, and you're going to do everything by the book, the way it's been done hundreds of times, the way it's supposed to be done according to them. Yet
absolutely
any fucking clue what they're talking about.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And it seems like each passing press conference or report that's being given on the subject of the Trump assassination attempt, whatever is still being talked about, because a lot of it's just been kind of vacuumed up into the media mass of nonsense. They don't even want to discuss it any further. But what has been discussed, what has been, released again is just like protocol after protocol after protocol being violated, right? And they're like, oh yeah, it's not a big deal. Just, monumental collapse of, all security for the former president. No big deal though. So here's a couple of things I would like to bring to your attention while we're on the subject. We've been given very, very sparse, very limited pictures of the alleged assailant, correct? Right? Like this is primarily the picture we see of him, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure that's exactly what he looked like.
Right, this high school picture, right?
Yeah, this 12-year-old was up there on top of the roof.
Well, you're right. He got braces on, everything, right? So but this is what we're sold as the Trump shooter, right? And again, I leave it open for the possibility that this is actually the guy that was taking shots at there. I highly doubt any of the details though until I'm presented some sort of evidence to even believe this guy was at the scene, other than the video that was released maybe 4 days ago, right? Showing this guy, an individual looking like an older version of this guy walking around the scene. Like, oh, hey, we caught him again, just kind of walking around at 4:26. He's just walking through the fairgrounds.
Is that what time they caught him? 4:26?
Oh, spotted on numerous cameras preceding the events, but yeah, I think that's the earliest now they got him on the camera is 4:26.
So he had plenty of time to smoke up 6 minutes to get to where he was going.
Oh, he didn't. Well, the shot I don't think was until 6:11. I think 6:10, 6:11.
By
So,
the way, the shirt that he's wearing is
oh,
fantastic.
the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, are we trying to say that's not a psyop?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I think it is a psyop, and this is I got that teed up for you right here. So 3 weeks after the Trump assassination, right after Biden, withdraws from the next, presidential campaign, Nancy Pelosi is doing media saying Biden should be on the next Mount Rushmore. And again, so we're seeing like one picture of this alleged shooter wearing that Mount Rushmore shirt. I think it speaks. That's what psyops are supposed to do, I believe, right? Speak to the subconscious.
Sure.
So subconsciously kind of embedding this Mount Rushmore idea in folks' minds. I think it's possible at least. It was a strange. I mean, Joe Biden on Mount Rushmore. That seems like a very far fetched idea, even for Nancy Pelosi, because
Yeah,
she later like,
that's a little ridiculous.
yeah, Nancy Pelosi even walked it back later, like, I don't know about that now. I don't know
Such a
about that.
consequential president, it says.
Right. That's a good comment about the parallax view. I do have some other movie comparisons, but have you seen the parallax view before, Dan?
I've never even heard of it.
It's from the early 1970s. It stars Warren Beatty. It was written by, speaking of the CIA, it was written by an early CIA officer who wrote a story about basically an international syndicate of businessmen, criminals, what have you, who are training these assassins for world leaders. And Warren Beatty's a reporter and kind of stumbles across this conspiracy. It's actually it's an interesting movie just in itself. It's even kind of more interesting when you consider that it was written by a CIA, OSS guy.
So very well may be some truth behind that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a good possibility that a lot of things like that get worked out in fiction. And speaking of other comparisons to, while we're on the topic of these comparisons to presidential shootings and in Hollywood films and whatnot, this Trump shooting assassination attempt is interesting to me. It has some, in my mind, it has some correlations with some other Hollywood, like maybe even some ideas that have been planted in folks' subconscious from Hollywood films. For example, have you ever seen the film Jack Reacher?
No, I watched the series.
Oh, I forgot they made a series. Okay, so you're familiar with the storyline. He's a
Yeah, yeah,
retired MP officer who kind of just travels around Hardy Boy style, solving crimes and fighting folks, right?
right.
Yeah. Well, Tom Cruise plays, you
Jazz.
know, well, he plays Jack Reacher, but as always, he plays a tall guy he knows how to fight. And that's always the character he plays on TV. Tall guy, rides motorcycles, knows how to fight. In real life, Tom Cruise, well, he maybe knows how to ride motorcycles.
Well,
However,
he's 5'2".
yeah, he's not a tall guy, and I struggle to imagine he knows how to fight. Um, but in Jack Reacher, there's an assassination of a few individuals in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so just south of Butler, PA, right? And the shooter in the film, spoiler alert, the shooter in the film is training at a range up near where Butler, PA is. It's not that far from there. So and that's kind of one of the details of this crook situation is like, oh, we've tracked him to training at this gun range just north of Pittsburgh, X amount of miles or whatever. Which again, it sounds strikingly similar to the shooter in that Jack Reacher film. Granted, that wasn't a presidential shooting, but it was a massive kind of global conspiracy type of deal.
So you're
Organized
saying
crime.
Butler, PA is one of the assassination hubs of the United States?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because George Washington nearly got assassinated just 6 miles down the road at the Butler County Fairgrounds.
I feel like I heard you talk about this on another podcast.
I did, correct. Yep. Which, I think it's strange that the first president of the United States here nearly gets assassinated with what I would, near the same location. What I would argue would be the last president of the United States had the assassination gone through correctly, because that's why I call it the assassination attempt of America. Because, in my opinion, we haven't really been living under any sort of American values in a very long time. But it's been getting, look around, it's been getting worse as far as censorship of speech or violence, violent acts, of being accepted by society, if you will. Um, you know, these aren't the things that I think are very positive for America. So I think, in my opinion, had that assassination attempt gone through, a lot of these things would have been, continuing on the status quo of things in this country, be it socio or politically.
Not that they're not going to anyway, whether or not.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain degree, you're probably right. Probably right, but I think there are some changes in those regions of socio-economic, political regions of our culture that I mean, like folks really hate Donald Trump. I mean, the guy. I mean, outside of the assassination attempt, the guy might be one of the most hated folks in our Western world. As far as from media, from political power structures, he really upsets the apple cart across the kind of across the whole scene.
Yeah, he's pretty polarizing. You either love the guy or hate. Well, I mean, I guess most people love the guy or hate the guy. I know,
Right.
but whatever.
Right. So when we look at some of these other, back to crooks here, then while we're talking about the Trump assassination attempt and not trying to get too political. So as far as things go here, let's look at this picture here. So this picture here was released by TMZ, right? But it was taken by one of the folks that didn't attend the speech, but they were kind of on the outskirts of the speech. They were standing along a fence line. They lived in houses nearby the building in which the shooter allegedly shot from. And so that's one picture that was taken before the shooting, right? And in this picture, it looks like he's got his shirt untucked, right? There's no sign of a belt right here on his waistline. Would you agree with me on that one, Dan?
I don't see a belt. I thought
Right?
I thought that picture was a woman, but whatever.
It's allegedly the shooter, and then this is allegedly the shooter after the shooting.
And there's a belt.
And there's a belt with a shirt tucked in, right? So either
That's
this dude took
great.
aim at.
Dude, go back to that other picture.
Yep. So it seems like he got up there, took aim at the former president, and then said, "You know what, guys? I want to look better for my photo shoot afterwards. I'm gonna get this shirt tucked in here, make sure I look real nice."
Yeah, it does. It does. There do seem to be some discrepancies there.
Right. Well, and then this picture allegedly, right? So this picture is allegedly these guys standing up there. The local SWAT guys go up on the building afterwards, is how the story goes, and then some CIA guy, or he identified himself as an ATF agent. He shows up on the scene and says, "Hey, won't you guys send me a picture of this guy's face? We want to do facial recognition." Right? That's how the story goes. Um, but yeah, the I don't know this movie. Resembles the movie Winter Kills. You familiar with that one, Dan?
Nope.
I'll have to check that one out. But yeah, I mean, speaking of like the discrepancies and conflicting data in here, I mean, folks, your eyes can't really lie. There's one picture, dude's got an untucked shirt, taking aim at the former president, and then the other one, he's got a tucked in. It appears to be a tucked in shirt. I mean, granted, it's possible, I suppose, that his shirt's just pulled up, but I mean, you can see a lot of belt there, right? Even on the side.
And nothing in between. There's no skin
Yeah,
in there.
yeah, I would agree with you on that one.
It's hard to tell, I guess, but yeah, there do seem to be some discrepancies. Can I say his farmer's tan is fantastic?
He's got a pretty solid farmer stand,
He
or
really
did. He formerly had a solid farmer stand before the FBI cremated his body and didn't tell anybody for 3 weeks.
right.
That's the news story. Like, oh well, you guys can't check that out. We cremated homeboy back on July 23rd, so it's a little late now on August 5th.
That seems like something.
Yeah, and then of course, one of the most preposterous details that I've thought of this whole story was the snipers, some of the Secret Service guys even were inside that building that the dude was on top of, literally inside the same building. It's a tin roof building. If there's some dude running around up on top of the tin roof, don't you suspect they're going to hear that?
I mean,
Cause
there
of
are
alarm, maybe, perhaps.
a lot of things you might suspect.
Yeah, it just seems like every new detail they release with this gets more and more ridiculous. I mean, and from moment one, like it hasn't looked good at all since the beginning, in my opinion, because immediately that was a headline that came out days afterwards. 20 minutes before the shooting, the Secret Service snipers had spotted the shooter. Now, They're not even. Then for a while, it was one of the Secret Service snipers shot the alleged shooter, Thomas Crooks, Matthew Thomas Crooks. Now the story is one of the local SWAT guys who wasn't even in an elevated counter sniper position. He was on the ground apparently, what they're just trying to describe. He saw it, ran over towards the building, took a shooting position, and then fired on the alleged shooter and hit his rifle. I guess allegedly hitting his rifle, and the rifle blew up in his face. Apparently, that's
Well,
the current tale.
I heard the story somewhere, I don't know where, that one of the counter snipers had him in their sights before the shot was taken and was
Yeah,
told not to fire. And
yeah.
then the shot was taken and then they fired. What do you know about that?
No, that certainly was one of the narratives that was being spun. I think that was kind of early on, like on this headline where it says back on July 18th, the Secret Service had him for 20 minutes before the shooting.
Right.
Now, given the details you know about the circumstance, I mean, can you imagine a scenario where anyone is getting within half a mile, even a quarter mile of this location? Because there's outer checkpoints, right? Like if you're acting all shifty, walking in or riding a bike with a rifle on your back, someone's going to spot you, right? Like it's strange credulity in my mind to believe this guy just wandered in there with a gun on his back, rangefinders. He had a rangefinder at one point in time. I mean, it just seems so silly.
Well, I mean, just looking at this headline, 20 minutes before shooting is about 18 minutes longer than necessary to get this person in custody to eliminate that threat.
No, absolutely.
It's just there's a whole not a single thing I've heard about this makes any sense.
That's the best way to put it.
Nor does it mesh with any other part of the
Yeah.
story coming from any side of anything.
Yeah, and I believe all in all, tax dollars per year spent on government in the United States is somewhere around $10 trillion. Might be $8 trillion. All in all government, all appropriated funds towards government, at every level of government, right? And out of $8 trillion, I expect better psyops than this. You know what I mean? They're going to try to shoot former president, likely soon to be president again, Trump, and they can't even get their story straight. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like there seems to be multiple competing factions of intelligence operations involved in this matter because I've never seen anything like this. The narratives change so routinely, but like there's just a vast change in the narrative, and like at each point in time, they're like, oh yeah, well we just didn't do that, or we didn't do that standard protocol, and we just decided to ignore that standard protocol. Like I expect better psyops out of $8 trillion, $10 trillion worth of government. You know what I mean?
But yeah.
I just think that do better is all I'm saying. I mean,
Yes,
government. I don't think you can have a government without running psyops on people to some regard. But I mean,
it's
better.
almost like they can't even do makeup on a daily basis on Trump because the wound that he had is no longer there.
Yeah, it just kind of disappeared, didn't it?
Yeah.
That's another element I think of the psyop too. Like, did he really get shot? Because
I don't know
the aftermath.
I don't know of any bullet wound, no matter how superficial, that it's still at this point today would be healed.
Oh, for sure. There'd be a scratch. There'd be a scab. There'd be something, right?
Something. So sit him down in the makeup chair every day, and that doesn't, out of the $8 trillion or whatever, take $100 and give it to a makeup artist to do that. To do that special effect every day.
I mean, even the bandage he put on was kind of psyopy, right? Like he had the giant kind of My Pillow like bandage, like it was like sponsored by My Pillow or something. It was so damn big.
It was pretty monstrous.
Yeah.
Did you happen to hear his interview with Theo Vaughn?
I did. What were your thoughts on that?
Boy, he just is very nonchalant about that whole thing.
Oh, very.
Well, he just kind of talks about it. And he says, like he doesn't know. He said, "My son tells me I'm pretty lucky."
Right.
That 120 yards wasn't very far away. Yeah, no shit, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, is it a hard shot? It's not an easy shot, I don't think. I mean, you're familiar with firearms. I mean, it's not so much the distance to me. It's the stress the shooter's under. It's the breath control. It's the targeting, right? It's getting, his making sure his nerves aren't shaking, right?
Yeah, but 100 yards isn't very far.
Yeah, and he did miss apparently too. If he did take the shot. So I mean, I
That's
suppose
what you said, that for a well-trained sniper, maybe that was a really good shot, depending
yeah,
on what side he was on. And
it's true.
my
Yeah,
counter to that was, maybe he wasn't a very well-trained sniper.
yeah. I did enjoy. I mean, it's a good point. I did enjoy Trump's appearance though on Theo Von when Theo Von was explaining to Trump how he was recovering coke addict and recovering like drunkard. And Trump was just super in. He's like, oh man, he's like that's wild. And Theo Von's just dropping all sorts of crazy like adjectives on him, describing these experiences he's gone through.
And he was counter questioning him about it. But did you notice that Theo tried to turn the interview, and he was asking him legitimate questions about some of Trump's policies and what he was going to do, what direction he was going to head. I think they were talking about healthcare at the time. And
Yep.
Trump immediately turned it around and said, it's kind of like that whole addict thing that you were talking about before. So what do you think about? And he just U-turned the conversation with the greatest of ease.
Oh yeah.
Completely avoided the question that Theo had asked him and turned it around, took the conversation in a different direction.
He's kind of a master of those
I was going to
type
say, it
of
was pretty
verbal
masterful stuff.
judo activities. Yeah.
Yeah. As far as politics go and politician responses, that was a masterclass right there.
Oh, I mean, yeah, he definitely knows what he's doing, especially when they put a camera on the guy. I mean, he produced and starred in the largest reality show, like the most popular reality show in history, I believe, of reality shows or TV for that matter.
Possibly, I don't know
Yeah, I
anything.
never watched it, but I know the ratings were big time.
Right? It was, yeah, several years. It was on for a long time.
Yep. Yep. We got some commentary on the shooter's abilities here. My 357 is sighted dead center 115 yards. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Thrash makes a good point there that especially a trained shooter should easily make that shot for sure.
Yeah, as long as your iron
Yeah.
sights are set, there's no reason to even use a scope. I mean, there's a reason. If you're in this trying to assassinate the president, you should probably be.
You should probably use the scope.
But
He's got rangefinder, but no scope.
a scope can get knocked out of alignment pretty easily. If you happen to bump your
Sure.
balance or something or whatever. If your iron sights are set, they're set, and from 100 yards, there's absolutely no reason you can't put it dead center.
No, that's a fair point. I mean, it's a shot I wouldn't miss, but I'm much like yourself. I'm a highly trained individual with firearms, so
Yeah, I mean,
given the alleged shooter's training, which again he supposedly had, right? No, that was the other thing. So, like on these, the congressional representative or senator who released the report on the shooter going to those ranges, there was another name that was signing in with him. It was blacked out. They redacted it, but right below each occurrence he's signing in the range,
there's
there's somebody else signing in with him right at the exact same time in the next line below him. Are they together? Inconclusive by looking at it, but it certainly seems like they could be. And that was an element of that Jack Reacher story, where the shooter in the movie he was going to the range with somebody, and that person was framing the shooter in the movie as being the shooter by making him look like he was a good shooter at the range, kind of deal. But nonetheless, it's there still is a possibility that somebody was joining this fellow to the range when he was going to train.
I mean, again, you've got the multiple shooter scenarios that could be happening, or
Oh, I definitely hear multiple shots from like multiple locations in that audio for sure. I mean, just the way things sound. And this is a good point here. I kind of thought it sounded like an air rifle with a low PSI. That's a great point, Thrash, because in my opinion, it was a very weapon. It may not even have been a two accomplish the same with a 22 long rifle. Did I cut out again?
a little bit. Yeah.
Am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear
You know
you.
what I mean? Though, with like a 22 long rifle, you're not going to have a large, loud discharge. There's not going to be a lot of, noise, signaling your position.
It would be a goddamn dream of mine for somebody to try to assassinate the president with 22 long rifle.
You don't
A
think it's
legitimate,
possible?
a
I think,
legitimate assassination attempt.
right?
I would love to see that.
I think it's, it's not that significantly different than a 2.23 round, to the point where I think you're going to inflict, especially at that range, you're going to inflict a similar amount of damage.
I mean, if you hit his ear, probably, yeah.
Yeah, right. A scratch.
Yeah.
Let me see. I think that's all I got on the Trump shooter. Um, let's see here.
Well,
What
that's
else?
the one everybody knows about anyway. Everybody's talking
Yeah,
about
and I think everyone's kind of screaming the same thing there. We need better psyops, because that one's really. I don't care which side of the political aisle, whether no one. I think a lot of folks are not believing various parts of the official story, right? Like, I think it's one of the, like you said, it's one of the times you're like, oh, this could be a conspiracy theory. I think a lot of folks have had that similar thought process where they're like, oh, well, this official story doesn't make any sense, you
it.
know?
This time, I almost can't imagine a scenario where it's not a conspiracy theory.
Right?
I mean,
I think I think a lot of folks share that same sentiment.
there's almost no way that this was just a course of natural events that happened because of one person
one
nonsense.
dude, one dude who has no interwebs profile, who almost knows, and the people that do know him, some folks say he was a great guy, some folks say he was a school shooter. There's like the completely conflicting data there. So yeah, it seems preposterous, really does. Yeah, and just I mean, again, he has no control over the stand down of all the other security forces that's seen that day. And I think there was a lot more stand downs that have yet to be really, announced publicly, as far as what should have been going on and what really went on. For example, Trump scheduled that thing 10 days out, 3 days out from the event. So on July 10th, he scheduled it on July 3rd. July 10th, Joe Biden schedules a dinner in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and they shift some of the security element from Trump's upcoming event over to the dinner on the. So she scheduled on the 10th a dinner for the same night as the Trump rally on the 13th, right? So it's almost like Trump schedules the rally, then the Biden schedule the dinner, right, a week after that, and then they're both held on the same day on the 13th, where they shift some of the Biden detail or the Trump detail over to Biden. Also, in this event, this was the first time that news was broadcasting live for a Trump rally this year, and it was the first time that Trump had counter snipers at an event. He's been going with no counter snipers until that day. How weird is that, right? Like,
No,
oh
that's
wait, the
coincidence.
first day we get counter snipers out there, we got a sniper on our hands, guys.
Yeah, yeah. Probably nobody knew. And also, at what point in American history would there be an assassination attempt on a president, and a week later it's like it's no big deal and nobody's even
Yeah,
really talking about it anymore?
yeah, they memory hold it pretty quick. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, yeah. Here was another detail. He supposedly had encrypted social media and encrypted, like, I think, financial accounts through numerous foreign nations, primarily out of Europe, I believe.
Yeah,
Which
that
again, it just seems like a ridiculous. Again, this
that
kid
in the
did
braces.
all of these things with no record of him doing these things.
Yeah, he was probably deep on the dark web.
I mean, it's certainly possible, because so when it first happened, I was like, "Is this kid? Does it even exist?" So I started looking around. I found his high school's YouTube page. Someone had posted it on Reddit or something.
You sent that
Yeah,
to me.
so that's the one I sent to you, right, about the MK Ultra type of stuff.
No, just about, well, I guess maybe sort of, but this was the AI, the computer stuff that he was
Yeah, but
part of.
it was brain computer interface stuff that he was working on out of a high
Right,
school program. Yeah.
right. And there were only like 1,000 views on this video. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, and I was shocked to find it was still up, a week or so after the event. But it was clearly the same guy, right? He's clearly that kid. I'll post a link to the video if it's still up. I'll post the links of the show. But it's clearly that kid, Matthew Thomas Crooks, sitting, in a high school classroom with this computer teacher saying, "Oh, this is what we're working on here," and computer brain interface, yada yada yada. Which again, that's the electronic, these electronic aspects to mind control. It's not just kind of like hypnotizing somebody, right? There's
And nobody's talking about the fact that this kid's a cyborg.
we good? Back?
You're back.
Okay. You were saying no one's talking about what?
The fact that this kid's a cyborg.
Right. And brain interface. That's what Mento Mori just mentioned here, aka Doctor Inferno. He just
JJ
mentioned
also,
brain interface software.
you can post that shit.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of Looney Tunes, right? Just the idea that there's this brain interface software that could be present and controlling people's minds through electronic interferences. But there's well documented evidence these things have been programs being worked on and whatnot. So it's
Yeah.
odd to me to find a kid working on such things in a high school, and then this kid later allegedly a shooter, right? Like,
It's odd to me that that's even a plausible class to take in a high school.
right. That's a good point here from Thrash. This Jose Delgado character was doing it in the 50s. He was a professor at Yale University. Back in the 50s, he was implanting little remote control sensors. He would hold a remote control, implant a little, brain interface sensor in the head of a bull, like in the brain of a bull. He was a Spanish fellow. And then he would get in the bullfighting ring with the bulls. You can go on YouTube and see these kind of videos.
Fighter.
Yeah, and he's like the bulls, he's doing the bullfighting thing in the arena, and then he'll just hit a button on the remote and stop the bull dead in its tracks.
You just stand here like this.
Yep, like he's some sort of god. Yep. The CIA was like, "We got to hire this dude," and then he ended up working at Yale for many years. But yeah, that was in the 1950s.
Never heard from again.
So yeah, all of these things I think are certainly possibly could be occurring, but even if they are occurring, I still demand better psyops.
Well,
All right.
especially if they're occurring. If that kind of technology exists, then
why aren't you using it, right? I'd be a little upset they're not employing that technology.
Right.
Again, we funded it. I mean, put it to work, right? I didn't know this about Timothy McVeigh. It's somewhat not surprising, but because I think to a certain degree, like whether it's electronic interface, whether it's hypnosis, anytime one of these very polarizing events occurs, somebody is impeding. Like somebody's in there with the puppet master, doing the, dictating what the actions of these people. Because again, they're obviously not doing. I don't think even if this kid was a shooter, I don't think he did it under his own recognizance. Like somebody's impeding on this kid's thought process, be it through some mechanism, whether electronic, hypnosis, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, I would be upset too if we aren't, if these things are not being employed, if this technology does exist, which again, YouTube videos can show it back in the 50s existing on things like a bull in a bullfighting ring. Nearly all terrorists targeted by the counter-terrorist programs have connections to GATE. Yeah, that's a good point there, Dr. Inferno, because that seems to be the recruiting ground for a lot of activities is the GATE programs, or we called it SPAN at my school. I don't know what you guys called it there, Dan. Did you guys have like an advanced or gifted kids program?
If so, I wasn't involved in it.
They didn't notify you.
I don't even know what GATE means.
I don't remember what the acronym means. It's a gifted program. So
okay.
it's they're doing all the testing, and like I remember testing in like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, that kind of thing. I was recruited but never joined because of other issues apparently. Largely, I didn't care to be there. So I never wanted to do the activities.
There were 200 people in my rural farm school. We were lucky to have pre-algebra.
Yeah, that's a good point. We were a little bit bigger than that. We had 200 people in my class, so yeah, not a big school, but yeah, bigger than what you had for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that was in Ohio, whether or not that was funded by the state. I assume it was funded by the state, but I don't know. Again, I never really participated. Didn't want to. So, all right, let's see what other We were supposed to let's go on to our next topic here, Dan. We were supposed to have Darren the Brit join us, or at least I invited Darren the Brit to join us as always.
But
He
he's
couldn't make it. He's currently on double frontal lockdown over there in the United Kingdom, the old country as I call it, and they're apparently experiencing what we did 4 years ago, the summer of riots. They're mostly peaceful riots, of course, with a holiday and fire. You know, that's a peaceful holiday and fire.
except for the fire bombs.
Well, it's mostly peaceful fireboming at least.
Yeah, all right.
But yeah, I mean they're looking like we did here in America 4 years ago, except well I can't say except we weren't really threatened as citizens with arrests for speaking up against these type of activities. But that's what they're facing in the UK right now. That's why Darren couldn't join us, is because he's very apprehensive about making any kind of statement, given the fact that they're literally arresting citizens over there and threatening to arrest Americans. You know, there's hundreds of people. This was just very recently they've been pushing here in the last couple of weeks for folks online posts that speak against the riots or the migrants there in the UK.
Well,
And
it's almost a loophole kind of in their constitution that there's no freedom of speech per se.
sure,
They have a right to the free speech, and the only acceptable variation to that is if it's inciting violence or hate or that sort of thing, which is extremely
very,
subjective.
yeah, it's extremely subjective, very arbitrary. And you're right, they don't have freedom of speech laws over there. In fact, there's like zones and parks that can go speak freely in, but it's not really the same thing. And to a certain extent, we don't have free speech in America. Slightly more free than they have, at least on paper. But I mean, even in that degree, the UK folks are threatening to extradite and jail U.S. citizens over the same things right now. Apparently, he didn't get the memo that we kind of broke away from those jack wagons, almost 250 years ago. But what are facts to some of these people? You know what I mean?
You know,
Now, what do you think? Do you think this is legitimate, or do you think this is just some sort of psyop? What are we talking here? UK Police Commission threats to extradite jail U.S. citizens over online posts.
I actually
Quote unquote, we'll come after you.
I read something similar. It wasn't exactly this. That those specific words don't ring a bell in my mind, but I think it's real.
You think this is real? You think they'd actually try to do this?
I mean, as far as I can tell, they are doing it, right?
In the UK, they are, right, but they're not. They're not. They're not extraditing U.S. citizens.
As far as
Right?
U.S. citizens.
Yeah, this is the next step. This is the U.S. citizens is the next
Yeah,
step.
good luck with that.
Yeah, it's tomfoolery, right? Good luck with that. Yeah.
Good luck.
That's Brittany. I couldn't even begin to understand the logistics of that. Like, who's arresting? Is it the FBI? Because they're real good at what they do. I mean, I wouldn't trust them to arrest anybody and ship them anywhere. I mean, they're not exactly competent. So the UK authorities are relying on the FBI to start extraditing folks. Yeah, good luck. Definitely good luck with that.
Yeah, they've got other stuff on their mind, probably.
Oh well, yeah. I'm sure it's nothing fruitful or productive, but when I saw this headline, I was like, this is peak meme world 2024 stuff. Because you could have told me this even a year ago. I'm like, that's ridiculous. There'll never be a headline saying U.S. citizens are getting extradited over their speech to another country.
This headline doesn't surprise me. I'm not surprised about that at all. But yeah, for sure, I think what you're saying is legitimate. This isn't real.
This can't be real. And again, like I understand they don't want folks talking about these things. They want to destroy Western culture. Folks who are in power in Western society, be it the UK or America. I understand they want to ruin Western society for folks, and they don't want folks standing in between them doing that. But like, again, do better. Come up with a better psyop than, hey, we're gonna come get you, folks. We're gonna extradite you over here to the UK. Like that's not even believable.
I don't know. Maybe they just kind of creatively rewrote the headline after something similar was said.
Yeah, but I mean, I understand what you're saying, but like, let me put, try this perspective here. 20 years ago, like when there was a crackdown, like unlawful downloading of music and movies on like file sharing websites, if you recall that, right? There was a couple incidents like, oh, the Recording Artists of America is suing this person in Wisconsin for $50 million, right? They downloaded 3 songs, or whatever, off of Napster, name one of them, right? And like, I think those kind of headlines, well, I think a lot of that was bullshit, right? Like, I don't think they really started prosecuting all these people, like the headlines read at the time. But on the same regard, like, it was effective, right? Like, people believed it. Like, folks were like, oh shit, I don't want to pay $50 million, or I don't want to get arrested for downloading something, right?
Right.
For
That was
being
back.
a pirate.
You couldn't research it.
Yeah. But like that today, like, and people just like, they laugh at it, like that. We need better psyops because that's ridiculous. Like, no one's doing that. Like, and on the same token, like, no one's going to jail for the downloading and stuff. No one's getting extradited to the UK. Like, I just think a lot of this has lost its power. But nonetheless, they need to do better because it's
Well, it's like they took their knowledge and their technology from the 90s and early 2000s. What they were using for psyops then, and technology has improved, but their methods have stayed in that time frame.
Sure. And I like to equate that to Meme World 2024 being the 4th sequel of the original Meme World 2020, right? And much like Hollywood, Hollywood trilogies and sequels, the subsequent films are always worse than the original. It just kind of progressively gets worse. Friday the 13th was a great movie, but Friday the 13th, 7, Jason Takes Manhattan, kind of a shitty film, right? No storyline, no character arcs. There's just kind of like Jason Goes to Manhattan, murders people. We'll call it a day.
Sequels are never great.
Yeah, so here in Meme World 2024, we're in the 4th sequel of this series. I was hoping it was only a trilogy, but Meme World 2024 gets more memeier every day when we see headlines like this, or have the former president getting nearly assassinated live on TV, and everyone talks about it for like, barely 2 weeks, and it's suddenly disappeared. These are the things I expect, because the same tactics being used in the previous meme worlds, the previous iterations, they don't work now. Like, those same tactics, new rules now apply in Meme World 2024. Those same tactics are not going to work. And I think this is an example of that kind of coming to fruition.
Yeah, it's like almost like they're dropping pamphlets out of planes. That's their level of psyop.
Right. And we're kind of like 70 years past that being real effective.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of planes, my CIA-backed UFO psyop. I don't know where your CIA-backed UFO psyop is there, good doctor, but there is certainly a lot of UFO kind of CIA psyop stuff going on right now.
I think he's saying he wants that.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly some of that going on right now. I see more and more of the CIA kind of psyop crew. They call them the aviary, which is a group of scientists that kind of they banded together in the 90s, like, oh, we're here to tell you about these aliens. The aliens like strawberry ice cream. Like, ridiculous nonsense like that. That was an actual statement too, by the way.
Are you talking about the beekeepers?
No. The aviary is like, do you know Tom DeLonge and his To the Stars Academy? The guitarist from Blink-182.
Okay.
Yeah, he decided he wanted to quit. He's a high-ranking Mason. He decided to quit being a rock star. He's like, I'm going to go. The CIA and the Department of Defense has contacted me to divulge the existence of aliens to everybody. So he's got all these people around him that are Scientologists, that are part of what was this group called the Aviary, which is the same group of people, these spooky kind of scientists, psychologist guys. They're all the ones that are still perpetrating these. John B. Alexander, that'd be another guy in this mix. Thanks, Thrash. Yep. So these are the same guys, Colonel Alexander of the Army. These are the same guys that are involved in numerous iterations of these UFO psyops, some of which are going on right now. In fact, the New York Post just ran an article a month ago saying that a UFO cult is running the Pentagon.
Maybe they can fight the vampire cult.
The UFO cult versus the vampire cult?
Versus vampires for ultimate control.
If you throw in Jason, we might have Friday the 13th, number 13 right there. That's the plot line for it.
There we are.
Jason, UFOs, and a vampire cult. And they all fight over the Pentagon.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. the But yeah, speaking of Freemasons and psyops, and I'd like to bring this one to your attention. I think I mentioned it to you before. Like, we seem to be getting bombarded with Venezuela propaganda, like Venezuela political psyops, and I don't get it.
All right, now this one, you said you wanted to talk about Venezuela, and I said
Yeah.
that I was going to go do absolutely zero research so that
Yep.
my reactions would be legitimate.
That's true.
I
It's just
don't think
something I picked up on here. Something I picked up on here. I just it seems like since 2020, like, and it's been going on in the 2022 midterm elections, the 2024 elections coming up now. We keep getting bombarded as Americans. We keep getting bombarded with Venezuelan political psyops, Venezuelan related political psyops, starting in 2020, where Trump there was a fight over who was the new president. I guess they had an election in 2019. This dude Juan Guaido apparently won. Why as Americans we have anything to do with Venezuela politics? Why I should care about any of this stuff is beyond me. That's what I'm saying. Like, they need to come up with better stops, because I'm literally tired of hearing about Venezuela nonsense. It doesn't
Well,
make sense why I should care, right?
is
And
anyone under the impression that someone is in charge of Venezuela other than a drug lord?
that's an excellent point. And on top of that, the CIA, who's giving the drug lord his marching orders, right? But yeah, so this Guaido fella, Trump invites him in 2020 to the State of the Union. He's the official kind of State of the Union guest of the president, right? That's at the same time the Vatican is backing his opposition. So the Vatican's saying Maduro, who's the guy in charge now, right? Maduro, they're saying that he's the president. Trump's like, I don't think about that. I don't know about that Pope. I'm pretty sure this dude Guaido is the president. But yeah, you see here, Pope recognizes Maduro as legitimate head of Venezuela, right? So there was
When,
this weird back and forth, and again, it's being pushed on Americans because they're bringing one of them to Congress for the State of the Union address.
the Pope recognizing Maduro, when is this article?
Well, this has been going on. This is still ongoing. So this is from 2020 through current day. I believe this is actually a newer article, but it's been going on for 4 years with the Pope has been backing him. So the Pope backed him in 2020. The Pope's backing him Maduro again now in 2024, right?
Maduro is currently the president, right?
Allegedly, not according to the U.S. Even the official statement of the American government is Maduro is not the president. The Pope says otherwise. The Pope said the same otherwise in 2020. He won that battle somehow, right, in 2020. And then now the Pope and Maduro seem to be winning this battle today in 2024. And again, I'm lost as to why Venezuelan politics impact America. And the only thing I come up with is this is another kind of like a Freemasonic psyop. This is Guaido right here, Juan Guaido.
Which one?
On the
He's
left.
left.
Right here on the left. Yep, this fella. This is a Freemasonic picture of him and some of his Freemasonic brothers. The only thing I can come up with is due to the fact that America was largely created by Freemasons and elements of Freemasonry, and opposing the Vatican, right? This is some sort of weird, bizarre kind of Freemason versus Vatican, points of contention that still exist today in global politics, working themselves out, and the U.S. backing one guy and the Pope continually backing the opponents, right?
But many people do recognize this Butler as the official head of Venezuela.
That's Butler, right? Yeah, yeah. The Butler is recognized by numerous countries, including the U.S. For example, Venezuelan opposition leader thanks the U.S. for recognizing him as presidential election winner. This is a new one. So Guido's out. Guido's actually under charges now from
Gonzalez,
Maduro. Yeah, they're
Gonzalez
trying to.
place.
Yeah, Gonzalez. Yeah, Gonzalez is the new opposition of Maduro. He just competed against Maduro in the 2024 election for president in Venezuela. Again, I wish I didn't know so much about Venezuelan politics, but they keep this. Again, I have no idea why this is news in this country every day. Why America's so involved in it? Why is America saying, like, look, we recognize Edmundo Gonzalez Ureta here as the president, and they're like, "Oh, thank you for recognizing me." Meanwhile, again, the last slide I just showed, the Pope's recognizing his opposition, the guy who was already apparently in charge before in the previous election, President Maduro. So I have no idea the politics of either of these individuals, right? Maduro, Gonzalez, Guido. The only thing that I can really come up with is it's a Masonic Vatican situation going on, but like they need to come up with they need to give me a better selling point. If they want to bombard me with psyops about Venezuelan nonsense, like especially politics, like you tell me why I care so much because I mean I don't care. Like and if this is just a matter of distracting us as Americans from our political nonsense and society downfall, well then make up a country. Create a fiction. You have a lot of money. Create a fictional country. Create a fictional leader. Give me some some Hollywood-esque storylines to it. I don't or just change up the countries. This year it's Venezuela, next year it's Panama. Now we care about Panama politics. You know what I mean? The following year it's Honduras. This is not the only Central or South American country that we can start distracting folks with their politics. That's why I'm deeply confused with what's going on, but I'm convinced it's some sort of weird psyop.
Perhaps it's because Venezuela is the least combustible of those countries. So that's the one.
The wealthiest, do you think?
I don't think it's the wealthiest. I don't think by any means. It's sitting right next to fucking Colombia.
Yeah, but they found a lot of oil reserves down there not that many years ago.
Oh, recently?
Yeah, in Venezuela. Apparently Putin, the dictator of Russia, apparently, as he's often described, has lots of investments in Venezuela.
It's because of the oil or what?
I assume so. I think they had a fairly substantial size, like, one of the largest oil reserve finds, I believe, in recent years.
Perhaps, but again, Wikipedia, which, by the way, recognizes.
Yep. In fact, that was what Lisa here said. OPEC was the reason.
Wikipedia recognizes the Vatican's choice as president, but they.
Well, does that mean the Vatican runs Wikipedia?
Perhaps. They also said that the GDP for Venezuela is like 90th in the world or some shit like that.
Oh yeah, well I think they nationalized the oil reserves. I think that was because they're like a socialist type of deal. Like that's the whole we got to fight socialism. I think that's part of the like why folks want to try to say like we got to care about Venezuela here in America. I honestly don't care about Venezuela. The America's kind of in a shithole environment if you ask me. So that seems to be more my concerns. But again, it's nonstop Venezuela when it comes to American politics because we also had this one right here. As far as American politics go, back in 2020, the whole quote unquote election frauds, and well, I mean there was obvious election frauds, but there's the whole scandal, the quote unquote scandal around it with Dominion voting and the Smartmatic systems. Do those sound familiar to you?
No, fuck no.
Oh, well, it's like why people like Tucker Carlson got fired from Fox when they got sued because they were claiming the Dominion voting and stuff was all owned by the Venezuelan government, and that's what this is like a PolitiFact. Family of Hugo Chavez, the former president of Venezuela, does not own Dominion voting systems, right? Like that was like oh we fact checked that. That's wrong. Dominion voting was against suing everybody for claiming that they were behind the election fraud here in America, which again it seems like they probably were. And I just think like part of this is just again it's super psyop. You're like oh Venezuela has nothing to do with Dominion voting systems or et cetera, et cetera. But then you look at more recent news like this one right here, co-founder of Smartmatic voting machines, which is like the Dominion voting systems and Smartmatic is like they're like a combo as far as the machines go. Like they work together in these voting machines. The co-founder of Smartmatic voting machine company charged with paying bribes for Philippine contract. So in this article, they describe, and I'll put the links to these articles in the show notes here. But in this article, it describes, this is like a month ago, one of the co-founders of these people that had nothing to do with Venezuelan politics or had nothing to do with, air quotes, with American, election fraud situations. They're only getting busted for election fraud and paying bribes to other countries for fixing their elections. And it goes on to say in the article how they actually were involved in Venezuelan elections, but they haven't been in years though. Let me soon pull that up here. It's just funny because you scroll down, you're like, wait a second, I think you guys said this was BS. Now you're telling me there might be something to this.
Why does the China Coast Guard boat say China Coast Guard in English? Didn't the China Coast Guard have some sort of Chinese language on there?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but right here it talks about how Smartmatic was co-founded by this guy who just got charged more than 2 decades ago, and its initial success is partly attributable to major contracts from the government of Hugo Chavez, an early devotee of electronic voting. So they're like, no, Venezuela has nothing to do with your voting machines. But then you scroll down, you're like, oh, well, Venezuela funded this to start it off, so
they do. And
they might have something to do with it.
And Putin has a lot of investments in Venezuela, so we're back to the Russians again.
Yep.
Back to them.
As the good doctor here says, spreading global democracy to all of the world. That's been the American way for sure. It seems so ridiculous, right? Like, I mean, there's either something major, in my opinion, there's either something major going on with all this Venezuelan nonsense, politically speaking, or it's just the most ridiculous psyop. And I'm kind of on the fence about it because then I see things like this. This is just from like a week or two ago. Has a Venezuelan gang taken over an Aurora apartment building?
Is that Aurora, Illinois?
Aurora, Colorado. Just south of Denver.
Is Aurora, Illinois a real place? I don't think it is.
I wish it was. I think that's where Wayne's World's from there, right? Yeah. I think it actually is a suburb, but I would yeah. I'm assuming they probably didn't film it there. You know how it always is. Like oh, we're gonna do a movie about this subject. We're gonna film it like Hatfields and McCoys is speaking of some Appalachian tales and some of my kinfolk. They did a mini series on TNT. They filmed it in Romania. They're like, let's go to Eastern Europe and film this.
Yeah.
Why? It's not like it's expensive to film things in West Virginia. You know what I mean? Like where the things actually transpired.
It's far cheaper to be in West Virginia. You would think.
It seems you're not flying halfway around the globe to film it. Yeah, I mean, makes you really wonder why these films need to go in these other countries. Like, oh, what's going on over there? Why you guys need to be in Romania right now?
I love the Hatfields and McCoys. That was a goddamn fantastic series.
Some of Kevin Costner's greatest work.
John Dutton up in there running shit.
Yeah, I believe. I think it's been 10 years since that's been on, right? I think that's maybe at least 10 years old.
It's been a good long time.
I like the good doctor's suggestion here. Let's make primitive tribes in the Amazon and cocaine smugglers enjoy the taste of McDonald's and neoliberalism. It's a good idea there, doctor.
It is as far as American commercialism goes, but don't get me started on the fucking taste of McDonald's. I got a goddamn cheeseburger yesterday, and it wasn't anything like I remembered it being.
Really?
All fucking bun. I couldn't taste anything but the goddamn bun. Then you get a double cheeseburger, and you can't taste any bun at all. There's no happy medium.
Speaking of psyops, then I mean that sounds like the McDonald's advertisements. That's quite a psyop, right? They did a number on your gut from the sound of things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've had McDonald's breakfast. That's kind of always been a staple in my life, like an egg muffin or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but, I can't remember the last time I had a burger from there.
It's not what I remembered it being.
It's not good.
It's fucking ridiculous. And I got 3 cheeseburgers. It cost me $6. That's $2 a piece. I remember when cheeseburgers were a nickel at McDonald's. What the fuck?
I don't know if I recall them being that cheap, but definitely less than 50 cents, maybe 49 cents for a cheeseburger. I recall, yeah. Well, here let's jump on to another topic. Then here, this is something I brought up to your attention back in March when it occurred. Ohio man fatally shot Uber driver after scam phone calls targeted both of them. Authorities say
that happened 6 miles from where I currently live, 3 miles from my workshop.
Yep. And I called you and you had never heard about it, right?
I have absolutely no idea. I have literally never seen a single person talk about it except you.
At all.
Yeah.
And you're from this small town in Ohio.
I live 6 miles from where this happened. I Googled the place where it happened. I know the people who live across the street. And then I know the people who live 2 houses down the road.
And they didn't know nothing about this.
Nobody's ever fucking talked about this.
Oh, that makes me believe even more that we demand better psyops than this. This is a bad psyop.
No, nobody. I haven't specifically talked to the people who live across the street about it, but they're very good friends with my parents, so I see them from time to time.
Sure.
And I'm definitely gonna ask them what they would have heard the shot for sure.
Oh, absolutely, multiple reshots. In fact,
know this guy. They would know it. I've never heard this guy's name before. Like I said, there were 200 people in my whole high school. If there's a person in that town, I don't know. I mean, I guess I wouldn't know it, but
right.
Everybody knows everybody. I've never fucking heard of this guy.
Dr. Inferno here's got a comment saying that's a common scam now on TikTok and Instagram to claim that certain personalities get kidnapped and held for ransom. I don't know, but that is kind of what went on here. So in this incident, which again, I was kind of dumbfounded when I first contacted you about this. I'm like, yo, did you hear about this? And you're like, I have never heard about this. So it's even more speaks to me to the more nature of this, that you no one's still in your small town. No one's talking about this still to this day.
This was
what is this? April, 5 months later? Yeah, 5 months, almost 5 months to the day, I believe.
Yeah, I've never heard a single person mention it. Like,
that's wild.
When I was in 3rd grade, a family got I was in 5th grade. A family got murdered in my town, and it was all anybody in the whole fucking school. That was the only thing anybody talked about.
Sure.
Now all of a sudden there's another murder in this town. Maybe the first one since then. I don't know. But
man.
Person mentions it.
Yeah, it can't be that many murders in that town or even in the county.
I mean, there's a fair few in the county. Springfield's not a nice place.
But... Oh, that's right. I forgot Springfield's there in the county. That's good. Solid point. But yeah, in your small town, there can't be. You might have a murder like once every few years, if that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this should be the talk of the town, and like the details and circumstances surrounding this event were all like from moment one were very bizarre to me. But yeah, go ahead, continue. What were you saying?
I was just saying there's no town in the continental United States that's more of a gossip town than mine. Like I said, everybody knows everybody. Sure. Everybody talks about the latest goings on, and people know what's happening.
That's definitely the impression I've gotten from Tyler and stuff. Talking with him about the coffee shop there in town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it definitely seems that way. Yeah.
Yeah, ask Tyler. I bet. He's never heard of this.
He's never heard of this either, right? And his I guess it's his ex now, but yeah, his ex is from there, right?
Yeah, she still lives there and runs a coffee shop or whatever.
Yeah, we got another assassination attempt with the 22 here in court. That's what Thrash's comments are. Yeah, right. Yeah. So so the story is this old dude, this old white fella. And again, it speaks to like some sort of racial kind of chaos that's someone's trying to stoke some sort of racial divide or chaos, because you have an old dude, and it was all allegedly caught on the Uber driver's dash cam, which again, I know people have dash cams, but I mean, they're literally right in front of the dash cam, like they're like standing on their targets to make sure everything's in view of the camera. And the old dude is holding the what, I don't know the exact age, probably early 60s black female, early 80s white male, holding the female hostage, kidnapped her. I mean, he got arrested for the murder and kidnapping of this lady. Apparently, she came to his house to pick up a package from Uber, again, as the story goes. But even if you're ordering an Uber, there should be a record of who ordered that Uber, I imagine. Like, Uber confirms things, like you have to like upload like identity verification things. I've had to go through some of this stuff with Uber. So I don't know how this lady's getting dispatched to pick up something from this dude's house. And as the story goes, the same scammers that are sending her there are calling this guy and and trying to scam him over the phone. So as the story goes, he thinks the Uber driver is part of the scammer, so he holds her hostage and then murders her in full view of the dash cam video in his driveway, in an incident that happened 5 months ago and that you live down the road from and have heard nothing about. Is that kind of a good summation of these events?
As far as I can tell, yeah.
I mean, again, the scam thing didn't make a lot of sense to me, but the fact that, like, I don't know, it just, the way that was like, it's captured like perfectly within frame. What I mean? It strains credulity for me to believe that this was just some random event where this old dude murdered this lady.
Yeah, it's a little wild.
And again, he's busting out the small caliber weaponry in which to accomplish these tasks.
Yeah, I think what your buddy there was saying is right though. It is I think it's becoming a fairly common scam.
Seems to be.
And I think a lot of it has to do with AI. Sometimes they'll talk. He was talking about people getting held hostage. They'll use their voice. They'll make a recording using their voice on AI, so that
Sure.
it sounds like your family member's calling.
Sure.
And you need to send this amount of money, or they're going to kill me, or whatever.
No, I mean these scams definitely exist. And it certainly could have. I suppose it's possible that that's what occurred here. It seems very psyopy.
Yeah.
Very, very psyopy.
Yeah.
Again, I was just shocked that you didn't hear about it then. I'm even more kind of shocked that this isn't the talk of the town in there in Ohio.
Well, if you Google this, there's not a single article or word about it since April.
Exactly. That's when this article is from. Yeah, it's a good point because I try to find out the disposition of this guy's case, and outside of looking it up on the court website, there's nothing there.
Yeah, what's happening with this man? Did he die in prison? Is his hearing supposed to be pending? What's going on? There's
nothing. You're right. And the last thing I saw was that he got indicted for the kidnapping and murder of this lady.
Yeah.
Yep.
In April.
Yeah, pretty bizarre. Pretty bizarre. All right. Well, that was We Demand Better Psyops close to home to you, geographically speaking. This is a We Demand Better Psyops close to me through somebody that I inadvertently met, not geographically speaking necessarily. This is a fellow I like to call Buffalo Jared. This is a little video I have him right here. He went on a stabbing spree a few months ago. A little video montage I did of him.
Fuck me hard.
And for any folks listening to this, it's the music of the fellow from Silence of the Lambs when he's dancing in the mirror. But it's I put it to the trans homicidal maniac that recently stabbed and murdered some folks. A little video he had of him dancing around on the beaches of Martha's Vineyard there.
Is that where that was, Martha's Vineyard?
Yeah, he's actually under new charges there. So back in May, this fella named Jared Revisa was his old name. He recently changed it to Jared Jones. I don't know if he's trying to out double J me, but if he is, I'm not having it. I'm not having it at all.
Well, pretty soon he'll be known as Prisoners 54367. So don't worry about it.
Well, the guy's an odd character. I mean, I encountered him years ago. He reached out to me circa probably 2019, I think, if I remember correctly. And he was running something called, he wanted to be my PR rep. He wanted to be my PR management rep. And I was like, I don't even know how you got my name or number, bro. I mean, we met each other on Twixter. I think he was like writing me on there, and he's like, hey, you want to have a meeting sometime? Yada, yada, yada. I'm like, oh, no, but I'll take it. I'll listen to what you got. Mainly just because I was kind of curious, why is somebody, I don't engaged in producing a podcast at the time, or even certainly wasn't looking for any sort of marketing or PR management, but that's what the fellow was running, and something he later changed to Revisa Jones, because again, he was changing his name.
So he took both names.
Yeah, again, I'm not going to try to attribute anything logical to this character, because in my experience, that was not logical with anything he was doing. Certainly not dressing up as a woman, stabbing your boyfriend, both of their dogs, then driving 60 miles to Massachusetts. This is in Connecticut. This is back in May. So I met this dude in 2019. Fast forward, 5 years. He went from running a marketing company to stabbing his boyfriend, dressing up like a lady, stabbing his boyfriend, killing both their dogs, driving 60 miles, going to a AMC theater in Braintree, Massachusetts, stabbing 4 teenage girls. They survived. His 70-year-old boyfriend died in Connecticut. Then he drove down to the McDonald's in Plymouth, Massachusetts, stabbed a couple more people, and then he drove his car away, wrecked it, and got arrested and said he was doing it all because he, quote unquote, wanted to have fun.
How many people did he stab total?
Well, let's see. We got six stabbings, one murder, which I think was done by stabbings. Technically 7 stabbings. Well, if you include the dog, that's 8 and 9. So technically 9 stabbings in one day.
This motherfucker is as good with a knife as mass shooters are.
He's proficient. He's definitely proficient.
Is he?
Well, I mean,
motherfucker stabbed 4 girls, not a single one of them died.
Well, I'm not saying he's effective. He's just, he's out there throwing a lot of jabs with that blade.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's throwing lead around, not a lot of people.
That's certainly possible. But yeah, I mean, he's running a digital marketing and social media management agency, right? I mean, he's transiting it up, I think, during this time by the looks of things. I mean, this is that's kind of looking pretty trans right there. It's the founder and CEO, Jared, aka Buffalo Jared, rolling in got that Ferrari in Beverly Hills right there.
I would say
Malibu.
More metrosexual than transsexual.
Okay. Certainly something, all right. I'll read some quotes from the attack at the McDonald's, and we'll take their see what they had to say about that. Let me see, where did that go? So Jared Revisa wanted to have some fun. This is as the details emerged from the case. So he was living on Martha's Vineyard. He's actually under new charges there for assaulting his dad there in Martha's Vineyard back in the spring. He's facing 14 criminal charges for wounding 6 people with a knife and 2 seemingly random attacks on the South Shore. Those are the Massachusetts one. And then he's identified him as a focus of a homicide investigation in Connecticut. That was his 70-year-old boyfriend who was apparently married. Some of the details haven't really come out about that. Very odd situation. Who that guy was, the guy that died, and what their exact relationship was. Not sure. But after he left the McDonald's on the 3rd crime scene that day, he sped away and rolled his Porsche Macan after doing 150 miles an hour, evading the police. His interactions at the McDonald's though were kind of comical. Well, I mean, in a very disturbing sense, because he obviously attacked some people, but mainly the guy's comments about this guy right here, Igor Marquez, 29, was the shift commander at the restaurant. He said that Jared, Buffalo Jared, there yelled at him through the drive-thru and refused to pay for his food, and then stabbed that dude. Then pulled around front, apparently to go inside and stab another McDonald's employee. He was described by one of the McDonald's witnesses there as appearing like a 1970s rock star because of his bare chest, long blonde hair, and wild-colored baggy pants.
This seems right.
She also noticed him outside the restaurant urinating. So he stabs the dude in the drive-thru for not giving him the proper food. Goes around front, takes the piss. Or I don't know. It's not clear where he took the piss, before or after the second stabbing of the second McDonald's employee. But it seems like, according to this, he took a piss, then decided that he wanted to go inside and stab another McDonald's employee. Now, the same witness also described seeing the man's penis. I'm sorry, Buffalo Jared's penis. I don't want to use the wrong pronoun. It could be her penis. I'm not sure. She said he had a big expression on his face, which she later described to be akin to Jack Nicholson's expression in The Shining.
That is fantastic.
So that was an interesting eyewitness report.
I'm going to tell you what actually happened here. He went through the McDonald's drive-thru, and when he took a bite of the cheeseburger that he'd ordered, realized it was nothing but fucking bun. And got
it makes sense. That makes so much sense.
And went and started stabbing people because of it.
He remembered there being meat on that burger.
I cannot this gentleman. I'm not saying I approve of his tactics, but I'm saying I know where he's coming from.
Nice. That's I like that analysis. So And the psyopy nature of things, like, I mean, I think this did happen. This dude kind of seemed like a nut job when I came across him a number of years ago when he contacted me. You know, I at the time I was still running my PI agency, for my full time, kind of business, and I was doing some work that was associated with some of the upper executive level of the Chicago Cubs organization. So, which was kind of weird because I didn't connect the two things at the time. But years later, I was like, wait a second, what's going on here? Because that dude, Buffalo Jared, happens to be the part of the family business, or his dad is part of the family business of the Revisa sports coaching and like sports hypnosis. Ken Revisa, a titan in the mental side of baseball and mentor to Joe Madden, dies at age 70. This was back in 2018. But Buffalo Jared's father was part of this family business, and the Chicago Cubs actually attribute the Revisa sports psychology business and Ken Revisa here, Buffalo Jared's great uncle, as the reason why they won the World Series a few years ago, or they broke the World Series drought after like 90 some years. They attribute that to the Revisa family and the hypnosis that they do of Major League Baseball players to get them to play better. So, the Trump shooters' parents are school psychologists. The Revisa family is a bunch of psychologists, sports psychologists. There seems to be like a lot of kind of hypnosis things going on with this Buffalo Jared fella. He himself was a college athlete, I believe, in lacrosse, but he was involved also with this sports kind of performance training business.
Interesting.
I just think it's very strange.
It is very strange, and I think that we can attribute this failed psyop to Wendy's.
They were trying to take out the McDonald's, though. I like that. They're trying to take out that McDonald's competition.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. And I can agree with what they're saying, but they're worth $4 billion. They got to do better on their psyops.
Oh, for sure. Well, I totally agree with you, and I like the take that the Wendy's is behind us, or possibly even Burger King for that matter.
Have you seen Wendy's?
We got the joint burger conspiracy going on.
Have you seen Wendy's social media accounts?
They're pretty wild. I do recall that. Like they like to get after it.
If any of your listeners haven't followed Wendy's on social media, go. Just go.
It's like Dr. Inferno here, the good doctor, says he loves McDonald's, especially the ones in Southern Ohio. That's true, because back when I lived in Cincinnati, every time the good doctor came to visit down there in Cincinnati, he seemingly got lost and found himself at the Milford McDonald's, which is a very specific, off the kind of road radar, or kind of out of the way McDonald's. Somebody called me on the phone, like, how'd you end up back at? What do you like, the Milford McDonald's? Why are you in Milford again? But yeah, he's always loving that McDonald's.
I have a funny story about Milford. You just mentioned that.
Nice.
I had a show one time in a city called Milford Center.
Oh, Ohio?
Which is further north. It's closer to where I live.
Oh, okay.
By like Bell Fountain. And I'd invited some friends of mine to come, and one friend of mine called me and said, I have no idea where you are. I can't find you right now. I'm driving around the center of Milford, and I don't see any place that's like what you're describing. And I'm like, what in the fuck are you talking about? There's no center of Milford. There's like 3 buildings in this whole fucking town. She was down in your neck of the woods down there in Southern Ohio, in a completely different city.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, because they have in the Milford down by in Claremont County. Yeah. There's like Milford, there's like Old Milford, but it's kind of like there's something like Milford Center or something like that down there.
Milford Center is the city I was, and it's further north. And she's like, I'm driving around the center of Milford, and I don't see anything.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Nice. So she got lost in Milford too, then.
Yeah, probably went to the same McDonald's.
Yeah, right. Maybe even ran into the manager there, who was the manager of the McDonald's I worked at when I was 15.
Oh,
still works there. Different McDonald's, but the one I worked at was down the road about 5 miles.
It's like Cheeks, the employees bounce from place to place.
Yeah, I was in there like 8 years ago. I just happened to go through that McDonald's for some reason. I'm like, holy shit, is that Sean? The dude was a manager for me like 22 years ago or whatever, you know? I was like, yo, dude, you still work at McDonald's? And he did. He still worked there, yeah. Still the manager.
Yeah, he's got job security.
Well, I appreciate all your time here, Dan, in the conversation. I'm going to post a link here in the chat if any folks want to call in the next few minutes and join in the conversation and or ask myself or guest Dan Dean here any questions. Welcome to call in, show your video or audio, either one. But definitely appreciate the conversation here, Dan. And you know, in the topic of tonight's discussion, the we demand better psyops. I think we've highlighted a few of these psyops that are, you know, bush league at best, right?
Agreed.
You know, if we have mental technologies that can communicate with folks and force them to go shoot people, I'm disappointed if we're not using that technology. And you know, if we as Americans need to be bombarded with political psyops and the propaganda concerning other nations, let's make up some fun ones. Let's not just keep bombarding us with Venezuelan nonsense. And I don't believe for a second that Venezuelan gangs have taken over apartment complexes. That seems ludicrous. I believe somebody would have been called in there for long before that. If not, just get people to quit talking about it. You know what I mean? These just seem like, I don't know, seem to strain a bit of credulity to buy into some of these things, but yet we continue to be subjected to them. I suppose one of the benefits of this election cycle, as opposed to the last presidential election cycle, is we're not being bombarded with the summer of love again and the mostly peaceful riots as they are in the UK. But the year's not over yet, so I don't rule it out.
It's not. And I really think if they can be injecting trackers into people through vaccines, why can't they inject some sort of psyop creation device directly into our bodies, and then they can send whatever they want.
And we can, like, you're talking like some sort of like brain interface that's being injected into us. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Then
there you go.
Then they have a built-in natural method of delivering the psyops.
Nice. Well, so certainly a good idea. I don't know that I want to see it implemented, but I do like the idea.
I don't. I'm just giving them ideas. That's a pandemic that they create.
Yeah, because they're going to do something, right? Like,
when they roll out that vaccine, it's got to have some sort of interface device to be injected. That way, everyone who gets that vaccine, which will be none of your listeners, obviously, but the majority of the population.
Yeah. No, you bring up some valid points there. We got, I'm not sure what this means. We got W ban and MWM ban from Anthony Medina. Venezuelans in Chicago. Here we got some Venezuelans in Chicago are protected by a lot of commie Venezuelans who are in the school system. Everybody dislikes them, but they take over and never go to the jailhouse or Audi home, which is our juvie. That's a good point. There is definitely a lot of commies in Chicago. For example, one of the Chicago school districts a few years ago made some comments that were derogatory towards the Chinese CCP, and the Chinese CCP actually dispatched a diplomatic representative to that school district to tell that school board to shut it down. I think it was actually a Taiwanese. There was something like pro-Taiwanese. They're like, wait a second. Much like here at Operation GCD, we only recognize the one China policy. So they were like, China was like, look, guys, Chicago, you guys need to only recognize the one China policy. You guys can't have Taiwanese speakers at your school board. And,
so
yeah, they won. So there's certainly a lot of commies in Chicago.
Unless W-Ban is talking about women's boxing, I think that comment was wireless body area network for health monitoring.
Yep, I see that now. Yep. Thank you, Anthony Medina.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you have all this wireless technology, obviously, you may not even have to inject things into people. You could just do it wirelessly, I suppose. But nonetheless, like, I mean, I want to see, like, if we're talking psyops, I want to see holograms. I want to see the full spectrum of technology being implemented in psyops. You know, it's the year 2024. All bets are off. I mean, if the things that transpired towards Trump, on and above just the assassination attempts, the altering of laws in which to convict the man of things, this kind of thing, seems like all bets are off. Let's ramp up the technology. Let's get it all going.
Talking about IMAX, 4D
Yeah.
holograms, all kinds of. I mean,
Well, I mean, look at all these drones, right? These drones are doing these fireworks shows. It reminds me of like that Spider-Man movie where the drones were doing all the hologram technology stuff, right? And like you know, actually projecting like different scenes to make people think different things. Like
the possibilities are endless here.
I think so, yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I don't know if we're going to get any more comments here, Dan, or any call-ins, but I do appreciate the chat and you appreciate your conversation here as well, Dan. Thanks for joining me today to get a little GCD and our discussion here of better psyops, just all around, do better. I like the conversation. Do you have any parting statements or comments for myself or the audience there, Dan?
I just want to say that I hope you get your check engine light fixed so that you know that it's working.
I appreciate it. Augmented reality. That's appreciate that there, Anthony. That's the phrase or the description I was looking for. Augmented reality with all these holograms and whatnot.
Right, and if we're plugged into the matrix, start fucking plugging us in.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Dan. Well, maybe Darren the Brittle join us for the next one. Maybe he won't be on double frontal censorship lockdown like he is right now. But
if he does, we're going to talk about this conspiracy you're throwing at me that Darren the Brit is a black man.
Darren the Brit is a black man. He's absolutely
not. Anyone who's ever heard that man speak knows that is not a black man whatsoever.
Well, thanks there, Old Car Restoration. Appreciate the comment. Yeah, Darren the Brit, full blown half black, half I believe Jewish, Eastern European Jewish heritage, I believe, Jamaican, and yeah. So yeah, I mean he's definitely a full blown Liverpoolian though, and as I like to call him, a not a garbage.
Well, I listen or I watch Welcome to Wrexham. It's just kind of a thing that I enjoy, and they call people from Liverpool Liverpudlians.
Liverpudlians, huh?
Liverpudlians. So that's what Darren the Brit is, a Liverpudlian.
Yeah, I like to call him the rubbish bin chap because it's my British version of garbage can dude.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
All right, Dan. Well, thanks again for joining me here tonight, bud, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I'll see you later, man.
Out here.
Out.